Welcome back to the series on complete freedom from anger and negativity. Very warm welcome to Sharona Stillerman, currently based in Israel, who has been your companion for a few months now in the journey of understanding ourselves, to be able to remove anger and to understand the source of sorrow. Why do you still experience sorrow? And people are as if harassed by sorrow, by waste, by negative thoughts, without being able to stop them. No matter how much you meditate, no matter how much I make effort, I feel there is still something that has not been fully understood. And that would be a nice angle on it. Sharona can clarify. Is it because we don't understand what is happening with us, with the world around us, that we still experience sorrow, despite of all our good intentions? Now, the first question for you today would be how to understand the world around us, and in particular when there is violence or when you see some form of anger, some form of criticism, or even physical anger, physical violence. How can I maintain my courage? That would be the first aspect to tell us how can we be fearless? Why there is still fear? Thank you, Sharon.
Om Shanti, everyone, and thank you, Joanna, for such a interesting question. And before I forget, I just want to say that I don't hear you very well, so I don't know how well the sound is recording. So just mentioning that. You know, the question of fear, the aspect of fear is a very big one, because there would be so many layers of fear in the soul by this point in time. There can be fear of overpowering personalities. There can be the fear of the insecurity of the future. And there are fearful situations and circumstances around us. So I think courage also would be expressed differently depending on what layer of fear are we talking about. And I think the deepest, most subtle layer of fear is connected to the insecurity of not knowing myself, which is connected to not knowing the power and the need for right, elevated, pure responses to whatever is going on. So once again, I'm saying, when we don't know ourselves as souls, we don't know the relevance of love, of peace, of inner power. And I think that's a big contribution to this fear. We don't know how to respond. There's our own reactions, which are automatic, and sometimes these also frighten us. but we're not sure about the effectiveness of responding with what I could call just our human dignity. Because when we begin to experience ourselves in our eternal form, the form of the soul, it means we begin to experience a kind of peace, a kind of happiness, a kind of reality that otherwise isn't there when we're just working on automatic and we're in reaction. It's not always a question of responding in love, with love or peace, which, by the way, breaks out to accepting, respecting, tolerating, patience. Our qualities and our virtues include energies like courage and assertiveness. And we have a power actually to know which quality, which virtue is most needed at any one point in time. But what's important is that we begin in those moments where we feel fear. I think the important thing is to check in on my own self-respect, on my own, what I called before, dignity, human dignity. Because if I can touch the energy of that and stand with that, I'm doing something very important. First of all, I'm not on automatic, reacting according to my programmings and conditionings. But secondly, I'm doing this thing called paying a karmic debt. Because if it's a frightening situation in front of me, not in front of a neighbor or a colleague, if it's a frightening or difficult relationship that I'm involved in, not my family member or colleague, but me, we're saying that this is in front of me in order to give me a chance to practice some aspect of my highest, healthiest, most powerful self. And it's really useful to understand that framework of reality. Nothing is happening by accident. Everything is within that law of cause and effect. And the whole purpose of being in front of the effect of something I put out weeks ago, months ago, years ago, lifetimes ago, is not to make me suffer. It's to make me grow. It's to give me a chance to experiment and rehearse with some aspect of my dignity, because that's what's needed in the world right now. We are so externalized in our efforts to find some kind of self-respect or dignity. But actually, and that's why we're failed in that attempt. And we react again and again without much self-respect or dignity. But as I touch that eternal reality of my existence, I begin again to open myself to being a divine child of the divine, of the Supreme Soul. My dignity very clearly does not include being angry, being numb, or frightened. My dignity is about moving things forward, finding solution. Even if no one else seems interested in that, that's what dignity invites us to do. Be like the mother in front of two squabbling children, or being in front of a situation that the child is facing, but the child doesn't have the tools that the mother has to move things forward. So like I say, when there's that framework of reality, that what's going on is an opportunity to pay a karmic debt, to improve something in myself. Just with that framework, I've already stepped back a little bit from the situation. I'm a little bit more detached from my own emotions, and I can already begin to see what quality is needed here. What principle of my life do I want to apply here? And I might very well choose patience. I might very well choose tolerance, but maybe that's not appropriate. Maybe I need assertiveness. Maybe I need establishing borders and boundaries with dignity and peace. And maybe I need the courage to do that. All of these are energies: assertiveness, courage, establishing borders and boundaries. All of this, it takes power. And so I'll have clarity about a response that moves things forward, but then connecting to my eternal self, the self as a soul, the automatic connection with the Supreme Soul, that will give me power for a new behavior. No matter what other people are doing or saying, I will have the strength and the wisdom and the vision about a new pattern for myself. And then it's just a question of doing it a couple of times, and then the new pattern starts becoming my behavior. So that's a lot of talking I've done to your simple question. How do you hear all of that?
Yes, thank you. It feels like there is someone inside me which is fearful. And whilst you were speaking, the thought was that that one is false. Only falsehood would be fearful. And the one that is truthful would never experience fear in any situation. So being able to face that falsehood that exists within. And I would say what you mentioned, that in that moment you have to stay in your dignity. Do we need to be exposed to many such situations? Sometimes we avoid people or situations that make us lose our courage. But actually, we should engage with such situations, even though they may be very small, but at least don't be afraid of the opportunity to see the falsehood and let it go. What do you think? Do you become more resilient the more you are exposed to little things that make you see your fear?
Yeah. You become not just more resilient, but you become more resourceful. Because my virtues and my qualities are resources for me. Again, the aim is to move things forward, which is another way of saying to become free from karmic debts. And so a deeper understanding of these laws at work, such as the law of karma, a deeper faith that the universe is not a hostile place. It's a very benevolent place, and it's working only to get all of us as a family of humanity back to our dignity, our divinity. And whatever's coming in front of me is just that. It's an opportunity for me to stop, step back, observe a little bit more coolly what's going on, a little bit more objectively what's going on. Remember the larger picture, such as this is a karmic account, and see two things at the same time. Myself as a soul inside this human form, in charge of the mouth, the eyes, the words, the thoughts, and the Supreme Soul just above me. That light and might from the Supreme activates my own light and might. And so not only do I understand a response versus a reaction, but I'll have the power to act from that. You know, a lot of times we know a best way to respond, like set borders and boundaries with dignity, with peace, or be assertive. But we don't have the power for it. So it's very important, first of all, some kind of regular meditation practice, some kind of regular yoga practice in which you can connect to the source and keep drawing light and might into you. It really works that way, and it's like magic.
Yeah.
And then try, when we say practice, what we're saying is experiment with your virtues and your qualities, but not just from the head, from a heart that's literally accompanied and supported by the friendship and the concern of my great friend, the Supreme Soul, because that is God's only interest right now, only desire is to support me on a journey of self-transformation, upliftment of my character, because the world we have today is a result of human dignity being lost to our species. So consciousness and appropriate expressions of higher consciousness is a very important aspect of bringing change in the world.
Yes, you are pointing into the direction of being prepared. And that is one aspect with fear. We have that reaction when we feel something unexpected happen. I was not ready for it. And the first instinct is of fear. If you would feel that you are prepared, you are ready, you've done your practice, your homework, and it's true that in that moment you separate yourself from the consciousness of being a soul, and you don't feel the company of the Supreme Soul. So our practice is to make that firm, that consciousness that you are a soul. No matter what happens around you, just stay on that throne of self-respect, stay in that dignity. And from that space, the help of the Supreme is available. Maybe one more question, a practical perspective that you may bring to someone who is in a relationship. And in that relationship, at the other hand, they see a lot of anger manifested. And whoever they are, they deal with things in the relationship through anger. What is my responsibility at my end? And the question is, how can I change? Can I change the other person? Can I help them? What is the most effective method? What should I do? What is my responsibility in such a situation? Thank you.
Yeah. Generally speaking, you have to take care of yourself. That's your responsibility. Anger is a fire, and who knows what can happen when it's left to rage. So you have to first and foremost take care of yourself. And if that means moving away from the person who's always trapped and only able to express herself or himself with anger, if you can do that, if you can move away, that's called taking care of yourself. To that extent, we have this responsibility. I can't be in an abusive relationship, and somebody who's always expressing themselves through anger is abusive. I can't be in an abusive relationship having witnessed this anger again and again and again and complain. Because we can't change others. We have to take care of ourselves. It's in taking care of ourselves that actually the greatest hope for helping the other person opens. So one is, if you can, move away from that anger. And if that involves physically moving house, that's one thing. If it means in the moment, go into another room, don't talk, don't try to appease, but take care of yourself by physically removing yourself from that anger. Of course, in moments of quiet, there will be the desire to talk it over and see if anything can be cleared through words. But even that, if the other person has the habit of anger, there's a limit, very short limit, as to how many times you're going to believe that talking things over can help. That other person is trapped in a very, very negative energy. And once again, I underline this. The best thing you can do is make sure you're taking care of yourself. It might mean that your patience or your acceptance or your tolerance or your faith is out of balance with other virtues like assertiveness or facing the reality of the situation. And then courage to move out, move away, stop discussing it. See what I'm saying? Because once again, the kind of relationships I have and what happens in a relationship is also a result of my karmic accounts. And the law of karma does not exist to make me suffer or make someone else suffer. It exists in order to help me become a whole and healthy entity. And whole and healthy means I'm activating all the virtues. There are at least 36 of them. All the powers, there are at least 8 of them. And all the qualities, at least 5 of them. And so I might be really good on 35 virtues, 7 powers, and 4 qualities. And there's only like 1 in each category, which is a little bit weak. The universe, which loves me, will put me in front of exactly, or put me exactly into a relationship, which will require me to activate that one singular quality, power, or virtue, which I haven't been paying enough attention to. That's the love of the universe. But if I don't understand the law of karma, and if I don't have that faith that it's a loving universe and a loving God, then I will be happy that I've got 37 virtues, 7 powers, and 4 qualities, and not care about just one being missing in each category. I won't care. I'll feel I have the right to get angry in response or to get afraid in response. But for those on a spiritual path looking for upliftment, looking to uplift others, first I have to uplift myself. So there are lines not to cross. For example, keep an eye on expectations. One reason that I fail my own self-progress is there's some expectation I have of somebody. She should be more loving. She should be more peaceful. She should be more clear about his or her aims. She should, he should. This is a warning signal, because again, I have to take care of myself. I can't really come to another with the expectation that they're going to do this, because it just doesn't work. We should have understood that lesson by now. And what that comes very close to is any kind of dependency, any kind of neediness. This is a line we cross, and we're no longer tending to our own upliftment. You know, in the Brahma Kumaris, the form of meditation and yoga we practice is Raja Yoga. And that's what it means. I am in charge of the kingdom of the self. And everything that's gone wrong in relationships is because I've not taken that responsibility. I've assumed somebody else is going to take it. And then when they don't take care of me, they don't contribute to my well-being, I'm angry at them, or depressed, or frustrated, or irritated, or all these things. It's a very, very powerful chip to play when you start the training needed to be independent in a happy and generous way. When you train yourself to be independent in a way that makes you so full of everything you were waiting for from somebody else, that you're able to give it at no cost, at no effort, at no pain. That's the ultimate purpose of wanting to make myself whole. Then I can turn to others really as a giver, with no strings attached and no costs. If they like it or don't like it, take it or don't take it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very beautiful when clarity is in your vision, to experience a life of freedom, freedom from expectations, that independence that you mentioned, to put up the flag of independence, Independence Day today, and independence in my own feelings, in my thoughts, in my attitude. Being able to carry on with the good work that all of you are doing now, that subtle work of seeing others as souls, as cooperating and helping each one with good wishes. So carry on with that. Be stable, be firm, be courageous.
But first, cooperate, have good wishes with your own higher self. Because to perform cooperatively towards others or have good wishes towards others externally, knowing what it looks like and just doing the performance, that's not going to help anything. It's not going to free you. It's not going to free them. So first, see yourself as that soul. Cooperate with that highest eternal divine form. Give her the attention she needs, the little baby angel inside. Make sure that you're giving quality time to cultivating her, which means sitting and having some good meditation, but it also means this kind of study in which you're training yourself to give yourself some quality, positive, elevated thoughts. Every day, this could be a checking, at the middle of the day, at the end of the day. What was I doing with my mind? What kind of thoughts was I feeding myself? Because one kind of thought feeds my worst self, making the worst in me strong. So I'll continue to have anger at myself or fear. The other kind of thought feeds my highest, most powerful, divine, dignified self. That's all it comes down to. How much I take the company of the Supreme, so I'm not alone. And what are the kinds of thoughts I'm feeding myself all day long so that I can stay in his company, but I can also remember that the whole of life now is one big rehearsal
Yeah,
for becoming the best I can be.
yeah, yeah. It's clear the idea of benevolence of everything that's happening to me. So thank you, Sharona. We can finish with a minute of experiencing that inner kingdom and being the ruler of the mind, of the personality, being in your highest dignity. Let us have that 1 minute of good wishes for the self and good wishes for everyone else. Thank you. Thank you.